Stop sending static Excel files to investors and partners. Seriously, if you do it wrong, it can look amateur and it's impossible to read on a phone. And frankly, oftentimes it's overwhelming and boring. I'm not saying that you should get rid of Excel altogether. You still need a robust model to run analysis. However, we live in the age of AI. So why are we still using tools from the 90s in order to show our vision? I'm going to show you how to take this Excel with all of this data for this financial plan, and we're going to turn it into this beautiful model that doesn't only have nice visualizations, but it also has different themes, for example, light and dark mode, with the ability to select different date ranges, the ability to upload additional information if you'd like, where you can sort by years, and where you can even turn this interactive dashboard with the forecast builder, different timelines that you'd like, different pricing assumptions, and different cost assumptions that then turns into this interactive dashboard that is super nice to look at and easy to share. And this is live hosted on the internet. And I built all of this in just minutes, and I didn't even have to write this code. No, I'll show you how to upload this correctly and then use ChatGPT in connection with Replit that you can then open in Replit and then iterate there. And then you can simply publish this live to a website in just a few clicks. And by the end of this video, you'll have your own version of this. And I'm even gonna give you my Excel template for this financial model so that you can follow along every step of the way. Let's build it. This is a SaaS financial model that I'm going to use as the basis for the data. It has a few basic assumptions for the business that then lead into a detailed drivers-based financial plan with different input drivers that affect the sign-up funnel, the customer acquisition and customer base, which lead to the revenue and the cost of goods sold. It covers the operating expenses that are mainly fixed, but that grows over the years. It calculates the profitability, the unit economics, and finally the cash flow, which is the most important thing for any business. This is then neatly organized into a table that AI can take and turn it into a beautiful dashboard. And this is actually the main secret to using AI for data visualization. It is clean headers. You might be just good with uploading your Excel to ChatGPT or whatever LLM you prefer, and you might get a working result that looks great. However, I've tried this a couple times, and sometimes I get lucky, but other times the AI gets confused and gives you the wrong data, and we do not want that. If you already have a financial model, follow along, or you can download the financial model that I'm using. However, anything I'm showing you right now can be done with your own custom data, so you just need to follow the steps that we will cover in just a second. Now that we have this data, let's create a website together. Head over to chatgpt.com and select the thinking mode if you have the pro plan. This comes with a $20 a month ChatGPT subscription, and it gives you better thinking for any of the data that you work with. Next, we're going to connect Replit to ChatGPT. This is a brand new feature that is super powerful and helps you not only build the website better, but it also allows you to host the website and share it with anyone super easily and iterate through your website right on a hosted account. And it lets you iterate your design within Replit instead of having to go back and forth with ChatGPT. So once it's built, you can control the variables and change things on a live website. And this is really what's making data visualization easier than ever. You can now connect these two and host it within just a few minutes. Let me show you. To do that, head over to ChatGPT, click on the plus button and select more. Click on Explore Apps, and we're going to connect Replit. Search Replit and connect this to your Replit account. Click on Continue and give it access to your workspace. Now that Replit is connected, we can start a chat and use it. And by the way, if you don't have a Replit account yet, you can click on the link in the description and you can try it for free. Now that we're here, in order to use Replit with ChatGPT, you simply have to do @Replit, and you're selecting the app that you're going with. To showcase the power of ChatGPT and Replit together, let me just give it a straightforward prompt right here. I'm typing @Replit, and I give it this prompt that first tells ChatGPT in order to analyze the CSV and identify what are the most important metrics for the founder to track, what story does this data tell, and what visualizations would best communicate the business trajectory. I then give it the instructions to build an interactive financial dashboard with certain things that I wanted to do, and I give it specific design requirements. And I'm telling it not to do purple-pink because most AI websites are purple and pink these days, and I don't want that look. And I tell it to be mobile responsive because most people that we send this to might open it on their cell phone. I'm going to call the company name Mo Luker SaaS Dashboard. Now all we have to do is we need to attach the data. We told it that we have a CSV, so we can either give it this data that is neatly formatted already, or I can just give it the whole Excel sheet and let ChatGPT parse through the data. I'm going to click on download this Excel, go back to ChatGPT and upload the file. I'm going to tell it that the data is already formatted in the dashboard data tab, but this is optional and you can leave this out if you want ChatGPT to do its own analysis on the entire spreadsheet. Now all I have to do is hit enter and it will do all of the work for me. Pro tip at this point is you can also ask ChatGPT to give you follow-up questions about your data once it has analyzed it, so that it can ask you exactly what you want to do and what you want to visualize with this data. However, since we already know what we want to create, I've given that exact data to ChatGPT and it gave me a more detailed prompt in order to visualize this data better. So in order to showcase a second prompt with the same data. Here's my exact prompt that is more in depth. It has very specific dashboard requirements that I wanted to follow. As you can see here, these are the different things that I'm requesting from it. And you can check out both of these prompts down in the description. I'll leave a link to them. Now, all we need to do is attach the data again, and I will tell it once again where it can find the most important part of the data. Another key tip here is to always select the deep thinking mode for ChatGPT. You can do that by clicking on ChatGPT, click on thinking, and then down here on extended thinking. I found that this usually gives me the best type of analysis and the best answers to deep thinking questions like this one. Now we'll click on create. And it's already thinking about how to best visualize this data and structure it for Replit to create a custom website for this. If we check in on our first prompt that we gave it, it was thinking for 2.5 minutes and then another 2.5 minutes. You can check out the train of thought here, and it's asking me to create a Molucca SaaS dashboard in Replit. Let's click on create app. It's now connecting to the app and it's creating that in the background, and we will be able to access that in just a second. It's now going through my 3 things that I wanted it to do, and it analyzed the data to find the most important metrics for a founder to track. It's telling me that it cares about growth, efficiency and profitability, unit economics, and cash reality. These are the fundamentals for the business, and I'm glad that ChatGPT was able to figure that out on its own. However, if you want any specific numbers to be included here, you can prompt it to make custom calculations and do a custom analysis for you. But for the purpose of this video, I'll just go with what ChatGPT recommended for this dashboard, and then we'll take a look at our more custom dashboard in just a second. The story that it's telling is a classic J-curve, which is the MRR hockey stick as well as the break-even EBITDA at a certain time here. On top of that, it will look at the cash danger zone with inflections. So the cash bottoms out at around October 2027. And if we look at our data, I already made a graph to show this, is that it does run out in this month here. And we can visualize this better within Excel or Google Sheets, but the whole purpose of this is to showcase the data with ChatGPT. The last part of the story is why profitability improves, which is because of the consistent gross margin while OPEX percentage of revenue falls dramatically over time, which is very common for SaaS businesses. The third thing I ask it for is to find the best ways to visualize and communicate the trajectory. And it's going to show the MRR with toggle ARR line chart, the EBITDA chart, and a scatter plot of growth versus probability. Then the cash on the balance sheet and an optional small chart organic acquisitions. It then went ahead and created a single file interactive dashboards that paste into Replit as index.html. And let's see if we can import this directly into the Replit app once it generated all of this. This is already a solid start, but let's see how the second dashboard is coming along, where we gave it more detailed instructions on how we want things to be visualized. It pulled in my extracted data file and turned it into a CSV. It's then creating a Replit React dashboard, and it's using Vite and recharts in order to visualize this data. But again, you don't really need to care about this because it usually chooses the best tools for you. All we care about is the results. And it created the different files here for Vite, for the package.json, and the different parts of the app that it will then pull into the Replit app. And it's giving me the quick setup for Replit. If you have any questions on how to connect Replit to ChatGPT, by the way, you can refer to the documentation, which is very detailed. So it's telling us exactly how to set this up. So you can either go to Replit and create a new app and follow the instructions there, or you can simply ask Replit directly by saying, at Replit, please create the app and fully functioning project in my workspace for me and give me a link to the app so I can try it out. Let's hit enter. And we will do the same thing with the first dashboard that we created. I now just need to give it the permission to create the app, and it has a specific URL right here. Click on create app, and it's now starting up the app. You simply click on open Replit and it opens the app for you. And when I head now over to Replit, I see the whole dashboard already being initialized, and I can review the site right here. This is the first one right here where we see that we have the different ranges, 12, 24, 36, and 60 months. And I can see the notable milestones right here. We can see the different investment points as well as the break-even line right here. Here we can see the cash runway, and we see that it even color-coded this as red, which means that we're actually in the cash negative position right here. So we need to raise more money. And we can even see the acquisition mix over here. It even shows the insights that ChatGPT came up right here. I think this is super helpful, and it makes this whole data way more digestible. Now here's a question for you as an investor or as a partner. Would you prefer seeing this? Or do you prefer the data being laid out nicely like this? Now this is amazing and I love this. Now let's also check out the second dashboard that it generated. And here we go. This looks like a super clean dashboard also. We can see the most important thing, which is the current MRR, the ARR, as well as the total customers, EBITDA margin, cash position, and the runway. And since we're cash flow positive in the out years, this shows that the runway is infinite. What I'm missing about this one is the time selector, where I can say what is happening at a specific moment in time. I can hover over the chart and it's interactive that way, but I don't see the key points that the first option gave me right here. And I really like that I can select the custom range to see different timeframes. Both of these tools actually give me the option to upload a CSV or an Excel. So if we go back to our ChatGPT, we can actually download this Excel and let's open this. Now let's see what happens when we re-upload the data. Let's see if it breaks. No, it just recharts it because it knows the structure that we're looking for. This is great. So if we want to re-upload this with different assumptions, for example, let's say we assume zero fundraising, and let's say we assume a lower conversion rate, let's say 5%. And let's say the churn goes higher to 5%. And let's re-download this data as CSV. And when I now upload the file, we see the updated values. And we can actually see that the EBITDA over time is now not positive until October 2028. And we can see here that the break-even point is in September 28, and then the first million in ARR is in 2027. Let's see if this also works for this dashboard. If we upload this, does it give us the right data? And if we go back here, we can actually see that now that we change the numbers, we are actually negative all the way through, and we see a beautiful J curve here where we can see that we're not profitable for quite some time, like until August 2028. And that also gives us this line right here where we can see the negative cash runway with a maximum negative cash of minus 5 million, which tells us exactly how much money and capital we need to raise. The insights, on the other hand, is not dynamic here, and this one isn't being pulled from ChatGPT. But if we were to ask on the left-hand side to give me a different insight based on the uploaded data set, then we could have this generate different insights based on that. So just keep that in mind. I didn't ask it to generate the insights based on the data that we upload, but just to update the graphs, and it does that part beautifully. And it gets even better. After showing you how to make some changes to the visual layout, I will also show you how to turn that interactive business planner that you can use to build financial models from the website itself. So you don't just have to rely on data uploads on their own. Now that you have your two dashboards, we can iterate on this and make this look even better. The first very simple way to edit your dashboard now is to do it within Replit directly. For example, on the left-hand side, you can now ask it to iterate or change your dashboard based on the design or the features that you desire. For example, for this dashboard here, I would love to see different time markers where I can have the key KPIs for different time frames. Let's add that in here. Simply go in here and prompt it like you would ChatGPT. I want to be able to select specific timeframes to see specific KPIs that are currently displayed on the dashboard, but only for selected timeframes. Give me the option to custom select, as well as give me 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year options, as well as a custom time selector. And then on the settings right here, you can either select fast or you can select autonomous, which I prefer, and you can select different modes, either low, medium, high, or max. And I prefer it on the high because that way, if it runs into any errors or issues, it solves them on its own and it troubleshoots it. And you can even select on app testing, where the agent goes inside your website and does the testing and see if there's anything going wrong with it. I'll just turn this off for now, and I'll have this iterate for us on the go. If you want to change the design, for example, change the colors or anything, you can prompt it the same way down here as well. For example, if we want to turn this into dark mode, I can just give it that prompt right here, and I'm going to select autonomous, high, and let's get it to build. Now we see that this is working, and this one, it's already editing the app, and you can see the changes as it implements them right here in the browser. And there we have it. It's starting to implement the KPI timeframe, and I assume that it's working on making this look a little bit better. There we go. And here are the changes. It said it worked for 3 minutes. It tells us what actions it did, how many lines of code it changed, and the agent usage was 94 cents. And here is the final result. We see the different KPI timeframe. And let's now try this out. When I click on 1 year, it shows me readjusting the graph, and it gives me the values for that specific time period. So when I selected 3-year time period, it shows me the pre-selected time period. When I select 2 years, we can see the specific time period now. We can still see the break-even points are being selected properly. And here we can, if we want to zoom in more on the blended customer acquisition trend, we can explain that the customer acquisition cost is going down because the organic percentage is actually growing, which means that our blended CAC is decreasing, which is something that we want to show. So if we want to investigate that, we can zoom in and we see that the biggest drop is really in the first month. Another thing that we can see here is we can select the different years in the table, and it filters by that. And we can also filter by the different headers of the tables. And we can also see that the MRR and total customers changes as we select more years. So we can see our customer growth, for example, or EBITDA margin going from 9% to this percentage. Let's see if the custom function also works. Let's say we only want to investigate 2028. and we should now see only 2028, which is great. We see it right here growing up and to the right, and we can see the data for 2028 shown here as well. I love this already, and there's so many more possibilities, but let me first show you the dark mode and then how you can publish this with just 2 or 3 clicks in order to share this with anyone. Now here it finished the dark theme mode, and on the left hand side we can see that it took only 1 minute to implement the dark theme, and it cost me 89 cents in credits. So that was really quick. It changed about 1,300 lines of code in order to implement the dark theme, and I love this dark theme. Look at this. This is looking fantastic. Let's toggle this on and off. It's nice and legible. This could be improved. The chart here is not that easily readable, but these other charts are looking great. By the way, let me know down in the comments which one do you like better, the dark theme or the light theme. So to recap, we uploaded some data into ChatGPT. Into ChatGPT, we gave it specific instructions of what we wanted to do, and then it was able to create the code, and with the function of calling it at Replit, it was able to create the whole app that we can then open in Replit. I showed you how to make specific changes within Replit directly, and we were able to demonstrate that we can have the dynamic timeframes, we can upload a CSV, and we can change the theme on the left-hand side if we want to. And all of this works from ChatGPT directly with this Replit connection, which makes this super powerful. You simply click on Open Replit and it opens the app for you. You can also make changes directly from ChatGPT if this is what you prefer. And you can go way beyond just data visualization. For example, you can ask Replit to turn this not only to be a data visualization tool, but also have this whole website work as your business model forecasting tool. And this is really where I could spend hours showcasing you all these different features. You're really only limited by your creativity and how you prompt this tool. So whenever you gave it a response here, it now has access to the Replit app and it's able to make changes directly in there. So whether you want to make changes here, or if you want to make changes directly in Replit over here on the left-hand side, you can edit it in either platform. So if you prefer the editing here and you think that ChatGPT gives you better answers, then do that here. Or if you feel really comfortable with Replit and their own AI integrations where you can select what kind of model and agent you want to use that also includes app testing, then you can do that on their platform as well. Simply click on Update App and it's now using the Replit agent, and you can go back over there to Replit to check it out there. Now that we're happy with our awesome data visualization dashboard, we can publish this in just a few clicks within Replit without having to worry about all of the different specifics of hosting things. Simply head over to Replit and click on Publish on the top right corner. We can give it a specific name, so maybe let's rename this to something better. Let's call it Example. You can also connect this to your own custom domain if you have one. On the deployment type, you can either select Autoscale, which scales with your users, and you can select how many CPUs and how much RAM you're reserving so that it really always scales with how many users you have. And this works for something super simple, or it works for really complex websites. So you know that no matter how much traffic you get, your servers will not shut down. However, for a super simple app like this, I would recommend people to go with something like a static page because this is cheaper. And for anything that doesn't require like active databases and stuff like that, this is probably the way to go. And then simply hit publish. And there we have it. Within just a few seconds, we were able to publish this as a static site, and it's now visible to anyone on the web with this URL. And I will leave this URL down below so you can check it out for yourself as well, alongside the Excel template if you want to try this out on your own. So now let's check back on our custom forecast builder that is more complex, and let's see if this was able to create this within just one try. Let's open this in Replit and let's click on our forecast builder. So now it has the initial dashboard, but we also have the forecast builder right here. Let's select bull case. Let's select the start date. Let's do the forecast horizon 36 months, starting customers 100, starting ARPU, let's call this 200, starting cash at 1 million. Next, here's our growth engine. Base case customers per month, let's call this 10. The month ramp is 5. Let's say a realistic churn rate of probably 5%. Let's do a realistic churn rate of probably 3%. And let's say there's an ARPU growth of maybe 2%. And then the organic later on will be 50%. And let's say the customer acquisition cost is 1,500. Let's keep this as is. And let's say the fixed costs per month right now are $150,000 in engineers. And let's click on finish. And now that we have this, we can see all of the graphs if we go over to the dashboard of our inserted data. How cool is that? This is amazing. And we can see the operating leverage, the blended CAC versus organic growth. We see the tables with our financial forecast. We can see the most important metrics like the current MRR, the ARR, the total customers, cash position, runway, and the milestones. This is super powerful. I think it just replaced me as someone that builds all of their models in Excel. How crazy is that? I'm super positively surprised by how well this turned out. And as a bonus, I will also deploy this app so that you can have access to that as well in case you want to forecast your business model with this website now. I could make this a bit it better by also having a dark theme or having a time selector, but I already showed you how to do this. So let's simply go over here, click on publish. I'm going to call it SaaS financial model. I'm also going to deploy this as a static page and simply hit publish. And here we have it. It's accessible via this domain for anyone to check out Forecast Builder as well as the dashboard itself. You can also connect your own domain. So simply click on buy a new domain and you can find different domains that are available and host it wherever you would like. And you're probably wondering, how much does all of this cost? I'm currently on the basic Replit plan, which costs $20 per month billed annually, and it gives you $25 of monthly credits. And if we go to our profile and click on home and usage, we can see that this month I only used $7 in total credits, and $3 was for this dashboard and $1.50 was for this dashboard. And as you can see here, all of my published apps that I have altogether maybe cost me less than 50 cents a day to host them. Check the link below to try Replit for free and get some free credits and try all of this out. It's super fun. It impresses your colleagues, your investors, if you're able to share your data in a more visual way, and you can even publicly deploy it for people to see it, so you don't need to send Excel sheets back and forth. If you made it all the way until here, thank you so much. I have plenty more videos like this that help people be more productive and be more effective in their business environment by using AI and tools like this. And I'm actually working on a video right now that showcases how to get the most out of Replit, even more beyond than what we just did today. So subscribe if you want to see that come out soon. Thanks if you subscribed. Feel free to leave a comment below about your thoughts on all of this, and I'll see you in the next one.